congrats on the fund. You're one of the bigger sort of private growth equity venture firms out there in terms of money under management that's focused on like a very specific domain. What do you want to do with this fund? And what is the unlock of everything that happened last week? Because your region is so under the microscope with all of the infrastructure investment that's taking place.
Thanks for having me. STV indeed is a private technology company. We invest in technology in the Middle East. We have 1.5 billion of asset under management. And last week we announced a thematic fund for AI. So our thesis is that it's time to invest in the application layer. The Middle East has proven itself being able to build a technology company. Today we have 15 unicorns in the region and more in the pipeline. In our portfolio, we have 9 companies that are preparing for IPO. And so there is enough knowledge, there is enough momentum, there are enough infrastructure to compete and play a role in the AI arena. The fund will be focused on the application layer, as I mentioned. There are a number of use cases that are immediate, relevant, and can find tangible application in the market, especially with customer service or enterprise automation or legal. This is where we are focusing today.
Right. We talked about Google backing this fund. Which other notable LPs and investors have you managed to get behind you?
Most of the things are still in the making, so we will disclose name in the due course, but we have a number of institutional investors that have been with us before and will come also in the AI fund. And I think also the time is right to attract international investors in our fund and in general in the region.
A big factor in the Gulf is the activity of the sovereign wealth funds. So you think about Saudi Arabia, for example, we covered a lot last week on the show, Humane. How does that impact your ability to do deals? Do you kind of get muscled out by either the public investment fund or another vehicle like Humane? Or are you looking at different company sizes and targets for your investments?
Well, the partnership between private and public sector so far has worked quite well. Even in the most recent announcement that we heard last week, most of this money and capital will be deployed in the infrastructure layer. So large project cost billions of dollars to develop data center, to develop also and localize LLM models. So this is actually favoring the initiative of the private sector. And as I mentioned before, we will focus more on the application layer. So this is actually reinforcing our thesis that investing in AI in the application layer in this region will make more and more sense as the infrastructure will be comparable to what we see in the most developed markets.
President Trump's visit kind of put Saudi's name out there, even if you forget the infrastructure layer right now. Are you worried about valuations a little bit, given how much interest and energy there is into looking at Saudi Arabia as an investment opportunity?
It's always a challenging job. There is a lot of volatility that we have observed across different cycles, so we need to deal with it. We need to put forward our reputation as a long-term, credible investors that can help on a number of value-adding activity, in particular to integrate company in our ecosystem, talking to government, regulator, large players, and make things happen. So we believe that smart and experienced entrepreneur will value that. Actually, we welcome the Trump visit. I think the world is more and more noticing what's happening in our region, in the Middle East. So far, things have been under the radar, but I think, especially in our sector in technology, the growth is exponential. And I would expect in the next 3-5 years to become, the success case of the Middle East in tech to become more visible. And so it will be more global capital and more global investors I see will enter the market and play a role next to us.
Luca, you talked about some of the unicorns in the region and some of what's in your portfolio. You must be excited about some exits this year. Any case studies where you see an IPO or even M&A giving you a nice exit?
Absolutely. So look, I mentioned 15 unicorns so far, right? 5 of those 15 have been materialized in the next 18 months. This is why I was talking about the exponential shape of how things happen in technology. In our portfolio, we have other 4 candidates. One of it is actually already a unicorn. It's Tabby, buy now, pay later. They raised recently around at $3.2 billion valuation and has a credible path to be listed in the Middle East Stock Exchange in the next 18 months. So we need more of this success case to prove ourselves and the rest of the global audience that the market is big enough, the entrepreneurs are innovative enough, and the capital can be, put at play with attractive ROI.